everyone to tonight's City Council meeting, this Tuesday, September 26, 2017, and we'll open our council meeting. At this time, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, and Councilman Alan Rudin will lead us in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Alan. This is the point of our meeting where we have an invitation for citizens for public comment. Anyone that would like to speak on topics other than a topic that's already on the agenda, a matter that is in litigation, a quasi-judicial land use matter, or a matter scheduled for a public hearing at some future date may approach the council and have public comment. Tonight, it looks like we have we're using our public comment cards for the first time, and it looks like we only have one individual that would like to speak during an agenda item, and then one individual to comment for public comment. So tonight we'll give 5 minutes to the individual that would like to have public comment. And so, Anna Germain, if you'd like to come up.
Oh. Now? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to show and tell.
If you would just, do we need to have them sign in now? Because we've got, so just sit down and make yourself comfortable and present to the council. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and staff. My name is Annalie Germain. I volunteer time with an organization called Zero Waste, and my particular committee has been working on finding a solution. Could you bring the microphone a little closer to you? Just scoot it a little closer to you. Thank you. We've been working on finding a solution to the problem of styrofoam going into the landfill. The current estimates are that any given landfill is made up of probably 30% packing materials, and most of that is styrofoam. The wonderful stuff that comes wrapped around appliances goes into the landfill and takes up a lot of space and takes hundreds, if not thousands of years to decompose. So reducing or eliminating styrofoam and all of the polystyrene materials that go into the landfill is a long-range goal. Those include the, plastic drinking cups and things like that. There are definitely better recyclable or reusable materials out there that we will be driving towards getting into use. But we are targeting styrofoam like this stuff for the immediate short-range goal. We have found out that the cost of recycling styrofoam is prohibitive in one sense because, this stuff is just too darn fluffy. It takes up too much space. It cannot be transported to recycling sites in a cost-effective manner. And so the problem is, how do you get it compacted so that it can be shipped in a cost-effective way? Recology has had a pilot project to densify styrofoam. It was a very toxic process, and it melted the styrofoam and emitted all sorts of gases. People got sick, and it was not cost effective. They abandoned the project. In our search for solutions, we found that there is a cold densification process that just basically smooshes the styrofoam into very small, shippable containers. May I approach and give you some photographs of what this process looks like? we went to Tillamook County, which is in some ways light years ahead of us in this regard. They have a machine called a densifier, which is a portable machine. It goes on a trailer. It can be moved to the site where the styrofoam is located, and it can densify a lot of styrofoam in a day. They are willing to work with us. They have established that they can densify styrofoam and make a profit from the densified material if they have a 50 cubic yard bunch of stuff to work with. So the present problem then is that we need a place to store and collect styrofoam so that this machine can be brought to our city and to process the styrofoam, which then they will also take off with them and store in Tillamook until their customer comes to pick it up. We were told that because of the pressure on the site where recycling takes place here in this city, that there is not room for storing or collecting styrofoam beyond a 20 cubic yard truck bed kind of a thing. And so the only thing that is a barrier here with us getting the styrofoam out of the landfill is to find a site. And we are hoping that the city and Recology will support this effort, which will involve volunteer time, because as you can see, there are 2 people feeding this machine. Styrofoam is collected in these white, big bags, and then it has to be cleaned so that there's no tape on it and no paper on it. And then it's fed into this machine here where the guy is pushing styrofoam into it. It crunches it up and then densifies it so it becomes a nice little brick. And I have a little fragment that they gave us when we toured the place. It's solid stuff, and it can be shipped in a profitable manner and can actually make money for the outfit that will feed it back into the manufacturing stream. The little white and black machine behind the man that's painted like a cow, that is a generator. And the generator actually makes it very mobile. It's a 3-phase power source so that it can go anywhere. And I would love to have questions and be able to look up information for you if you have any concerns about backing this project and encouraging us to get access to appropriate space to do it.
Okay. Well, we're in the presentation to us, so we're not going to be able to have dialogue tonight. But what my thought would be is, as your committee is bringing this together and can bring us a little more of the cost and how that might work, get a hold of Melissa, who could then put you on the agenda as a presentation where we'd be more prepared to be able to have a dialogue.
I can answer that partially because the cost would be none. Tillamook gets money for selling the styrofoam that's been densified, so they will take it away with them. The cost would be reduced for Recology because they will be collecting it at these large producers, the furniture stores, places like Lowe's. They would have collection points. They would bring it to Recology. Then Recology is relieved of the responsibility and the cost of then transporting it to the landfill. And so it takes half of their cost away for this material. It's actually a large savings.
Okay. Well, like I say, what I'd like to see us do is then have your committee meet with Recology, and you guys have that dialogue, and then come back to the council, and we can then put you on as a presenter where we can have this dialogue and have more of a complete dialogue and see what the city can do. But you've started the process tonight for us, and so that's what I would suggest that we do. Tonight, Recology is here, and they're making a presentation tonight. So if you stay,
that's why I'm here.
we might hear a little from them also on this.
That would be great to get a good positive response.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to have citizens comment, or for citizens for public comment that,
You should call me.
hearing none. Thank you. We are to that part in our agenda tonight where we have a presentation on curbside yard debris, glass, and alternative disposal proposals. And we have Recology here with us this evening. Fred Stemler is going to lead us out. He's got others that are here. We understand that this is Fred's last official presentation for us. Fred, it's been great to get to know you and work with you, and we're looking at, good things in your move, but we're excited to continue to work with friends at Recology. So Fred, we'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I got instructions. So thank you very much. It has been my pleasure being a part of this community and living here. Just quickly, I will be back frequently. We have friends, of course, family that are here now. So thank you for the nice comments. And so a quick update here on some of the things that we've started and seen some good success in is here's an update on where can cart trash service counts are starting in January and measuring up until August 2017. So over the past several years, we've seen continual growth, as you're all aware, in McMinnville and in the surrounding communities. The growth boom continues, and so we see more cans and carts as well as containers out there. And with that comes an expansion in our mixed recycling count that I'm glad to see is outpacing our additions in trash. So the net increase is 204 new carts and cans out there and about 250 new recycling containers. When I look at the yard debris program, understandably, there is a far more aggressive growth curve in that time period, largely, entirely due to the new programs that the council approved. So in the 90-gallon roll cart, we've seen 1,104, a 40% increase in the yard debris collection. And in glass, we've seen a 51% increase with 1,088 new containers out there in the 32-gallon roll carts. So the use has been steadily growing every single month. Our container crew is begging for support, and we're getting to the point here where we're probably going to have to add another body because it just steadily pushing the limitations of hours and meeting the customer demand. So I think there's a lot more growth ahead in both of these. There's an opportunity for questions here. Is there any that we can jump on now, or would you like to save any for the end?
Keep going.
Okay. You can interrupt anytime. So the other part of today is to talk about alternates to disposal. So the last time I was here, we talked about what would be the alternative. So the current process is customers collected in the vehicle directly hauls to the landfill dumps, or we dump at the landfill, currently Riverbend landfill. An alternative required a transfer station, which we will complete constructions. We had some, with the recent weather that came through, we weren't able to complete some asphalting work. We have some steel scheduled to be delivered for the push wall. We are aggressively trying to get everything closed up by the end of September. We may go a little bit into October before everything is sealed and done there, but we now have the capability to do something other than a direct haul to the landfill. So what that means is customers setting out, we're picking it up, we're gonna drop to a transfer station, and there is a requirement in that transfer station that the load then be collected and moved in a very short frame, so that this is mostly about odor and requirements, that has to be moved off-site within a very short window of time, and then transported to an alternate to a disposal location. Now, we could take this to Riverbend. A reason to do that would be potentially getting a better negotiated rate. If Riverbend isn't the preferred destination, we now have the capability to go anywhere. So there are several alternate locations. We would transfer into a transfer truck and ultimately take it to the choice that we mutually agree upon. So the question for 4 years has been, what is it going to cost? And I've heard everything from double and more to less. Well, it's thankfully less. So we've modeled it out. We've contacted multiple landfills, and I still have some responses that are outstanding. So this was a conservative estimate at this point. It could get better. These are the 3 most common residential rates. It accounts for 75% of all the customers in McMinnville's service district. The current rates are the first ones. That's 32-gallon weekly curbside, 90-gallon every other weekend, 90-gallon weekly curbside. Current rates, the first one, projected 10% increase in costs. That would be the out-the-door costs, and this is assuming that we started work January 1st. So we would need some time in order to order 53-foot trailers, tractors to haul them, get the logistics in place. So we're definitely doing this right, but we think we can get everything up and running by January 1st, and we would try and exceed that deadline, of course, if that was the preference. On the commercial side, same percent, of course, it's a higher dollar. So it has the same percentage on a higher base dollar, of course, results in a higher end cost, but 37% of our customers have 2, 4, and 6 yard containers once a week. And you can see the proposed change as well as the end cost there on this customer base. Again, effective January 1st, 2018 under this hypothetical. And I believe these costs would hold to January 1st or even a reasonable time afterwards. And then the last piece is I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to introduce Carl, but again, feel free to dive back and forward, whatever you'd like to do as far as questions go.
Well, I think we do have some questions, and so from the council. So who might have questions for Fred? Alan?
Sure, thanks, Fred. I had a question on the trucks that you need to procure. On the route that they will take from the transfer station. Mm-hmm. Can you give us a brief description of that route that they'd be on? Sure. So if you've been to the site where the transfer station is located, we've added an egress onto Alpha. So the trucks essentially would load on the property. It would make an eastbound turn, head out to Alpha, and then head south and head down towards Riverside, okay? From Riverside, you turn out and head back to Lafayette. Now the question is, do you head north or south at that point? Yeah. So you're either going down 3 Mile or you're heading up 99 North if you're going into Washington. So there's options north and south of us at this point. So that's a local routing. I presume you're concerned with how it's going to navigate through the industrial park and through McMinnville. Lafayette Avenue is my concern. Yes, so there is no exit outside of the industrial park that would reasonably handle that, other than going through the Riverside exit that would take you past the steel mill. Really is not ideal for that kind of equipment moving. So what we designed is to try and avoid the Orchard intersection with Lafayette. It does handle some very large trucks right now, but it's already a traffic congestion point. The intersection at Riverside and Lafayette is a much better intersection at that point, from my opinion. I just wondering if you come to the intersection of Lafayette Avenue and Riverside, and you go south or left-hand turn onto yes. Lafayette, that's going right through our northeast gateway district. Right, we'll be a block off Alpine. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, if there is a routing preference alternative, of course you can go north to go south. So it would just extend the trip. So if there were restrictions, we could work around those.
Okay, thank you.
Thus going down Lafayette, taking a right on Lafayette, going up to 99, and then taking a left and going through the commercial part of 99.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, Alan?
No, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Did you have anything? Kind of back to Alan's question on truck traffic. The current transfer trucks that Walsh brings through town, are those coming down 99 or do they come down Lafayette Avenue?
We are no longer contracting any of those, so I can't actually speak to the routing. We previously used Walsh on some of our hauls, but we've internalized. So, I mean, my office sits above Lafayette, and I can feel it when they hit a pothole, and the traffic is reduced from. I guess it's not a scientific guess here, but I think just generally, I think they've cut down, but I do believe that there are transfer trucks that are using 99 to probably get to 3 Mile and then hitting 18 South to get to Riverbend. That's probably some of the outskirts of the Portland area that's still transferring in.
But if you guys were going to go to Coffin Butte and Corvallis, you would go south and then tie back into 99, or you guys would go down through Salem?
It's not a substantial difference one way or the other. I think both routes could be justified. And Coffin Butte is not a default choice. Our model currently doesn't actually have Coffin Butte.
Okay. Other than that, I just wanted to thank you for being an active member of the community and everything you've provided over the years and getting to know you as a person. So
Yeah.
wish you the best in moving forward and appreciate your presentation and everything you've done.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your participation on the board, or on the council.
Thank you.
Well,
Other
I have
comments?
something.
Kevin?
First of all, Fred, thanks for all your leadership in the community. It's just been awesome working with you. You've always been more of a solutions-oriented leader than kind of an obstructionist, and it's just been really refreshing to have a business that's so instrumental to our community with you at the helm. It's been great. So California is lucky to have you, and we're lucky to. I guess this guy looks great, and if he's got your nod, then that's good for us. So.
Yeah, Carl looks a lot better.
To McMinnville, and I hope you enjoy your time here. I did have a comment about the location of our dumping. It's no surprise to the public that the city council's been opposed to the expansion of the landfill and is growing more so frustrated with its current existence and the smell and all these other problems that it's causing to the citizens of McMinnville. And so I think back in April, I introduced some language that would basically would prohibit any of McMinnville's waste going to Riverbend indefinitely. And citizens can take their stuff wherever they want, but as the franchise with us would go someplace else. So do you have any comments on that? Or do you feel like you're prepared to, if we were to make an action like that, that you would be in a position to be able to respond to that kind of a contractual restriction?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, I'm thinking we're looking, the earliest that could be done is probably the first of the year. Is that correct in your presentation?
Yes, that's a date that I felt that we could meet. So
Excellent. So
yeah, the key has really been having the transfer station.
Yeah.
That we now have the resources to make choices that were never on the table before.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys' moving forward with that, because I know it's been years we've been talking about this and not sure what the long-term life will be at Riverbend, and you've always been looking for solutions where else we can go. So the timing seems right, and so if with council's nod, I think we should direct either to have it in the contract or to do some sort of an ordinance, but to ratify it in some sort of official language so that we can make it official.
Okay. Other comments from anyone on the council?
I'd just like to thank you for your service. We've really, really appreciated having you here. you've done great things in this community, and you're leaving a great legacy, and I hope you have some great experiences in California too, but we'll miss you.
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
looking forward to continuing to work with your up-and-comer, your replacement, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Anyone else?
I missed you when you left the budget committee, so. But you have done a wonderful job here, and we really appreciate it, and particularly your going out and finding solutions for our concerns about the landfill is greatly appreciated. I guess I would ask if Coffin Butte is not where you're thinking of maybe taking our waste, then where would it be?
So we have 3 potential destinations that are on the plate. There's one up the gorge. There's one on in the state of Washington, and Coffin Butte's another one that we're looking at. So all 3 are actively looking for tonnage. So the rates are competitive, extremely competitive at this point. That bridges the transport. So geographically, Coffin Butte is one that I'm actually waiting on to hear back from. So.
One other question, the 10% increase, totally understandable and reasonable, but just how long are we looking at that before another increase in the overall costs?
Well, you know, similar before we started the new programs here in McMinnville with GARD, we had 2 years of zero. That's really my goal, is to have rate stability, and we're looking to move right back into that mode. So there's a lot of factors that come into consideration every year. The business is complex. For instance, just this last couple of weeks, we've seen recycling markets completely collapse. So products that previously yielded a payment for it, fibers, for instance, mixed papers, China is potentially shutting down all receipts of these materials, and costs have gone from, you know, your mixed commercial loads might yield a couple of dollars payment per ton. Haulers now are having to pay $75 per ton, which is 3 times the disposal, or is 2 times plus the disposal rate down the way. Recology is fully committed to maintaining its recycling programs, and it's part of the benefit of being in a larger corporation like ours that has direct ties with both domestic and international processors. It's not going away. I've heard smaller companies talk about just taking it all to the landfill. It doesn't make economic sense. So anyway, I make the point only to say that the business is volatile, as many of our businesses are. But the goal is stability. So I'm hoping that we can find a long-term solution here, and we can get back to where we were before, with nice, flat, uneventful annual discussions.
So say we all. Thank
Yeah.
you very much.
Yeah.
I have one more question.
Go ahead, Wendy.
The transfer station was supposed to be completed around now, August or something.
Yes.
Is it functional, or
Yes.
what's the status of that?
Yeah, so we are probably a week to 3 weeks away from being completed. We had a couple of weather delays that came into play this year, and also a personal delay, a very reasonable personal delay with our construction team. So I expect we have some asphalting that was delayed with the recent rain events that came through. We have some steel on the push wall that needs to be completed. Some railings need to go up, but this is ready to rock pretty soon. So.
And again, Fred, as others have indicated, it has been a pleasure to get to know you and work with you. Your communication style and your proactivity has been very much appreciated. And Carl, it's good to meet you this evening. Now, have you been in McMinnville, or do you come from another location?
I come from another location,
Okay.
but not too far away. I'm negotiating a relocation package. I'm just kidding. 26 miles. I live in Tualatin.
Okay.
And I wish that my wife, Katrina, could have been here with me I'd love for y'all to meet her, and I'm sure at some point she'll follow me along as well. But we're both just tremendously excited to get out here. I mean, listening to you guys talk about Fred, it's everywhere I go, I hear this. I replaced Fred on one of the boards for the Oregon Refuse and Recycling Association, and was at a conference last week shaking my head going, man, I'm probably going to have to put in a lot of overtime in order to make up for that. And I say that in jest, but, I'm honored. I'm lucky to come to this community. My wife and I, since we've been up here, what, 3.5 years, and we've always been coming out to McMinnville. And to all of a sudden realize that we can call this home, and that is the plan. I'm going to relocate out here, hopefully right after the first of the year. And it'll be interesting to see if there's any homes left by the time we make that decision. But it's something that we're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to working with anyone and everybody that would like to work with us. I've been with Recology 18.5 years. I've been in the business 30 years. And I think, like Fred, when we came to Recology, we realized we found this innovative, thoughtful company that wants you to make a difference in a community and to be part of that community. And that's something I've lived with and I believe in, and I'm excited to be here. And to hear that you guys appreciate that about Fred means that this is going to be a great place for me to call home. And companies like Zero Waste, Waste Zero, we're good. These are folks we're happy to talk to see if there's opportunity there to do things that make sense. And we'll follow up on that and
Great.
make sure if there's opportunity.
Carl, again, it's great to meet you this evening and be able to be introduced to the council. Again, we see our partnership with Recology as one of those critical elements that we benefit from the proactivity that you do, and you're going to find that we're going to be very approachable also. So kind of a handshake and welcome, and we expect to continue the things move forward. So thank you, you two. Now, I know we have, I know Mark would like to address the council on an aspect of garbage rates. So we'll call Mark up, Mark Davis. Thank you, you two.
So do I need to sign in since I filled out a card?
We got you right here, sir.
Okay, I like that.
Doesn't that make it easier?
Yeah, but I still have to tell you where I live and what my name is.
We've got it.
Oh, I can be anonymous now?
Yeah.
Somehow I don't think that's going to work. But I'll say it anyway, just because I feel comfortable starting that way. Mark Davis, 652 Southeast Washington Street. I really appreciate that presentation. I think it was really good to see that Recology is kind of on our side, and we're all working together to try to figure out a way to get our garbage out of Riverbend. I think that's, in my mind, that's the important thing. I mean, we're spending a lot of money on Visit McMinnville and trying to get people to come here, and the last thing we want to do, I think, is to expand that landfill and be known as the garbage dump site of Western Oregon. So I think it's really important that we move forward with their suggestion. That said, I also think the council has a responsibility. This is a franchise, it's a monopoly, a responsibility to the ratepayers to hold a hearing and to look into this. This is a pretty big change in how they're going to be doing business. I think we need to look at the numbers and make sure everything makes sense for the city, because it sounds like it's setting a basis for what's going to go on for quite a while. So I hope that there'll be a hearing where we have a chance to look at their numbers, and the public has a chance to comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We've got a card from Margaret Cross. Margaret, is this the same topic that you wanted to talk about? Why don't you come up?
Stepping your foot anyway. Sorry. Crushing people's feet.
Welcome.
Thank you. My name's Margaret Cross, and I live at 1102 Russ Lane in McMinnville. And I really wanted to be here tonight to thank you for being so responsible and so forward-looking in your approach to the infrastructure and the services that we have in McMinnville. I think it carries on a long tradition where you're willing to not just always take the cheapest way out, you take that long-term vision of what's really going to be best for future generations. So when you made the decision to back away from Riverbend, made the decision to put in the banning the single-use disposable bags, that's really it takes some courage and some leadership to take these risks. And I really wanted to thank you for that. I appreciate it. I also think Recology is to be commended for their leadership and commitment. Garbage isn't a subject that people really like to think about or talk about or worry about, but it is a basic infrastructure question. So I think it's great that we have zero waste, we have the council, we have Recology, we have the Stop the Dump people, all really coming together to try to do what's best for future generations and for the current ones as well, because nobody likes that smell and the birds and the dirt and we hate that. So that's really what I wanted to say tonight, and I also hope that the city will continue to try to promote efforts to educate upcoming generations and current ones about the need to think about garbage and to use what they have carefully, to continue to reduce their use of materials and toxins and things that contribute to this problem, to cut down on the waste, to reduce, reuse, and recycle. I think that we have greatly benefited from Recology's leadership, and I think Paul is going to have a high bar to fill the shoes, but I'm sure he'll do well. The rates seem to me very reasonable, consider the rate increases, and I'm sure that Recology, when they send out the notices, when these go through, as I'm sure that they should, that there will be explanations about how people can continue to save in certain ways, you know, by using it bi-weekly or the smaller can, or continuing to use the recycling more effectively. So I think they're doing a great job. I think you guys are doing a terrific job, and I really appreciate your commitment to dealing with that smelly problem that we call landfills and trash. So thanks again.
Thank you, Margaret. I think before us tonight, we've received information that it seems that Recology would be in a position to enact the transfer station, have the vehicles appropriate to transfer garbage to another location outside of Riverbend. So is there a discussion about how you'd like to see us proceed? Mark indicated that a public hearing may be appropriate on both the rate and the rate goes hand in hand with not going to Riverbend. I tend to lean that way, that a public hearing, given a 10% increase in garbage rates, but it being a philosophical change of where we're going, might be an appropriate thing to do. But I'll open that up to council. Anyone?
I'll say something, Scott.
Go.
I think that what's been happening has been a great partnership. It's been a process of education for all of us up here on the city council, an education given by many of you out in the audience about what do we do for the future with waste and everything. And the two things that I'm really interested in to see is, where is the final destination of our trash? Where's it gonna be? And how are we gonna get it out of our city in the best possible way? So I'm anxious to see where it's finally gonna end up. I hope not Riverbend. And I hope that all plays into it. But I think there should be some kind of public input on where this is gonna go, and based on the costs involved and what direction. So,
Okay. Thank you, Alan. Any other comments?
I'd second what Alan had to say. Is that I think public input's important. You know, anytime that you're asking the citizens to pony up more dollars, and if somebody's budgeted and they're on a tight budget, I don't think for a majority it's gonna upset them, but I think that it's a long-term shift, and so getting that input from the public, whether it's positive or negative, I know philosophically we as a city have taken that sustainability approach of getting out of river bend, but we should give our citizens the time to comment on how they feel about it, and we should be updated as a council on what their feelings are.
Thank you, Adam. Kelly?
Unless Kevin wants to address them. I personally agree. Even though I know we've done this very publicly and over a fair period of time, I still feel like we probably do need to have a public hearing and let people come and air their views. I felt generally that we've had tremendous support, but it probably would be a good thing to do.
Okay. Kevin?
That public hearing, I think, would be a great opportunity to have a very educational dialogue with the public on this, and kind of have an opportunity for us to, again, voice our concerns with its proximity to the city. And I think, given the shift in philosophy that will be kind of ratified by this decision, it would make sense to kind of have it start on that right footing of having an open dialogue with the public. I'd be very supportive of doing that.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah,
Wendy?
I would agree, and I like what Kevin said. I always feel as if, especially with a big decision like this, that we learn a lot from hearing the thought. We always have really thoughtful testimony from the community, McMinnville citizens, and so I feel like it will be we have had a long process with it, but I think it's a good time to bring in the citizens and make sure that dialogue is complete before we pull the trigger. So, and I feel like an open hearing would enable us to do that. So,
it might be as fun as the fluoride meeting. This has been a very divisive topic for the county for a long time, but I think it's something we're kind of gonna have to wade through.
yeah.
I'd agree. Well, then what I think go ahead.
Maybe not as much fun as social game.
Go ahead.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, since I sort of coordinate that annual rate review project for the city, the terms of the contract basically state that we would do all of the same work that we would do for our annual reviews. We would provide you with the previous 12 months or what we had of the previous months and our projections. So the expanded version of what you saw tonight and how we got there.
Tonight was just a 6-month update, correct?
The first part was a 6-month update on how we're doing with yard debris and glass. So we do have a few pieces moving together along with, as we saw, the growth here. So the percentage of total will always move as the denominator changes, which is good. More people moving here. But as far as the mechanics of it and the opportunity for the public to hear it, my understanding is we could do that the same as we do the annual agreements, where we present the financial information, the council hears it as public hearings on it and discussion, and then direction to us to make that change, and we would include in that an effective date for that. And during that process, we could have a conversation if there are councilors that feel that a mid-year change to their budgets or to other businesses' budget would be create a hardship. We could talk about changing that, but we would need, again, there are a few moving parts. We have to make an agreement with whoever will take the waste from us. So we can delay this, but if we delayed it for another 6 months, for example, if we were trying to get to the next fiscal year, there's a good chance that the pricing information that we have now would no longer be good. Many of those bids have an expiration date of 30 or 60 days, at which time we'd have to basically officially ask them again, and maybe we'd get a better deal. Maybe we were not, but that's the things we can discuss once you have the full financial information in front of you.
Thank you.
So they're free to take it wherever they want now. So if you find a better deal someplace, you can take it anywhere you want. But I think what our discussion would be about a prohibition of a particular site, unless that's where you're looking to do it to lock in that rate.
Yes, and we built a transfer station with the idea that we wouldn't have to take it all right down the road. So the chances of us, after all of that work, deciding to then just take it down the road probably would set some fires in our corporate offices. We don't build things to not use them. It's just a matter of, we can't commit to you to tell you which site we will be using yet until we know some of the details. We also have other communities that we serve. So there's sort of a process that we'll have to work through on that. But when we're dealing with solid financials, those would be based on a particular site, and we'd be able to share that information at that time.
Would you be able to provide us solid financials regarding this for a hearing?
They look so far away back there. I would have left if I was them. So it's almost October. I would guess that we would have numbers that we could confirm and have our boss's boss thumbs up on them for November 1st. And so then at the December meeting, you could have your initial discussion, and we could take it from there, whether more meetings would be required. I'm not sure your November meeting would be, if we got the material to you November 1st, your November meeting might not be enough time for you and the staff to dig through it to the extent it sounds like that you want to. So our cover letter, when we submit the financials, will give you our understanding of what the timeline is from there. And of course, if for some reason we run into roadblocks or other challenges finishing up the transfer station construction, that may push back that January 1st date as well. So there are a few different moving pieces, but I think we've heard you loud and clear what you want to happen and when. And so it's our job to make that happen.
Let me jump in. I think we can get you something in November.
Okay.
Okay.
So like if we had a public hearing in November, you could be ready for us?
If that's your preference, we'll work to do that.
We have 2 meetings in November.
Right, and Thanksgiving. We'll shoot for the beginning of November, if that sounds good.
And so what I would instruct staff to do then is to put together a public hearing as soon as we can get the financials from Recology, and we will work with you, but right now to be focused towards the 1st of November. The second Tuesday in November is when we would be meeting as a council. The 14th of November would be where we'd be looking towards as far as we'd have all the information, because I think we need to have a full plate of information to have that public hearing, because we'll make a presentation to the public, then we'll hear testimony, and then we can make a determination where we want to go. Alan?
Fred, just another question. Will you have a determination of the final destination of this trash by that time?
Yes, we can absolutely make a final choice. I mean, as I said before, we have a model currently, and that model is pointing us north. So we would be up Lafayette and heading up 99 towards the border. So assuming that factors don't change, that we don't get more favorable pricing south, yes, okay. We can firm that up.
Good.
So.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you both. And staff, you've kind of got our directions where we'd like to go.
We'll continue working with staff. If we can escalate this, we will as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. You're the best. That takes us to our part in the agenda tonight, where we have our consent agenda, resolution 2017-62, a resolution approving the acquisition of property from HCP CH ELP1 Properties LLC for the Northwest Hill Road Improvement Transportation Bond Project. And our second piece that's on our consent agenda is considering an OLCC liquor license application for a full on-premise sales related to a change of ownership for Yan's Chinese restaurant. Is there any counselor that would request to have items removed from our consent agenda? Hearing none, then I'll ask for a motion.
I so move that
Seconded.
we accept those.
It's been moved and seconded by Council President Menke and seconded by Councilor Rudin. All those in favor may signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying nay. This agenda 2017-62 passes unanimously. Tonight we have some resolutions that are before us. The first resolution is Resolution 2017-63, a resolution establishing a downtown safety task force, and I'll call on our city manager to present that to us.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the City Council, at a previous City Council meeting, you heard presentation from the McMinnville Downtown Association, as well as a number of citizens and business owners about conduct in and around the downtown area. You asked for a temporary task force to be established. This first resolution establishes the task force and sets out the charge for the task force. The expected time frame for the task force is 6 months, with bi-monthly reports back to the City Council with potential recommendations on either strategies to address behavior and conduct downtown, and or the possibility of additional municipal code changes to help regulate conduct downtown. The Police Chief Matt Scales, Parks and Recreation Director Susan Muir did the heavy lift in terms of crafting the charge for the committee, and will also be primary staff contact for the task force. Legal counsel and deputy city attorney will be available as technical resources, particularly on legal issues for the task force. The following resolution deals with the appointment to members of the committee. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for city manager? We've had some discussion around our table already on this, and so this is just formalizing that and bringing it to you in the form of a resolution this evening. So I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution 2017-63. It had been moved by Councilor Rudin and seconded by Councilor Garvin. All those in favor may signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed signify by saying nay. This resolution passes unanimously. Now, we now have resolution 2017-64, a resolution appointing Scylla McKillen, Jeff Sargent, Erica Marksberry, Rick Warner, Laura Van Hout, Lindsay Manfred as members of the Downtown Safety Task Force. Any questions well, Jeff, if you'd like to just address that in any form or fashion.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Just to clarify that, again, Chief Scales and Parks and Recreation Director Susan Muir will be primary staff support. Councilor Garvin will be the council liaison with the task force, and Council President Menke will be the alternate liaison. One of the issues that came up in the dinner meeting is that there were a couple of citizen members of the committee that were recruited that are unable to serve the committee. The committee may benefit from additional members, and one of the suggestions at the dinner meeting was that perhaps once the committee is convened, the task force rather, that they may in fact identify and recruit additional members to serve on that committee, and with that understanding, the resolution is before you for your action.
And I'd just like to add a little discussion to that. I think that's wise that we have a broad base. I think we have the Downtown Association represented. We have citizens that have some background. We have the churches represented. We have the county and some expertises from those that would provide for the homeless and represent them a bit. We have an individual that has been homeless, but we could benefit, I think, from one or two more. And so we'll turn that over to the committee. Any other discussions from your perspective?
Is this task force going to be reporting to or be an appendage of any department within the city?
This task force will be associated with the council, will report to us every 2 months in council meeting. And so the short-term nature of a 6-month task force that will look at ordinances and how we can deal with safety and behavioral items will come back to us. And then if we need to extend that beyond 6 months, we will do that. But again, we're looking for a group that can really work and solidify what we need to do, and then we'll move forward from that perspective.
Thank you.
So that's just a little more of the structure. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve resolution 2014-64.
I so moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Menke, and it has been seconded by Councilor Stassens. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, signify by saying nay. This resolution passes unanimously. That takes us to an ordinance this evening, and the first reading with possible second reading of ordinance number 5038. We will now consider the matter of ordinance number 5038. Does any councillor object to having the ordinance read by title only? Hearing none, the city attorney will please read the ordinance by title only.
This is a first reading of ordinance number 5038, an ordinance amending ordinance 4539, adopting by reference certain uniform codes which relate to the maintenance of existing buildings and abatement of dangerous conditions.
And with that being read, we'll call on Planning Director Heather Richards to present to the council.
Sure. So good evening, Mayor and City Councilors. Ordinance 5038 makes a text amendment to Title 15 of the McMinnville City Code, which is for buildings and construction. It allows the city at the local level to adopt Chapter 34 of the Oregon Structural Specialty Code for existing buildings and structures. It's part of our we are currently going through the code in a comprehensive review, and this is one of the chapters that we are starting to review. We'll be bringing more amendments to you in the future, but this particular amendment is for an immediate public safety issues, and we felt that we could bring it to you tonight as we look towards the rest of the code in the future. The Building Code Division is operated under a statewide program where it's the same in all the different communities in terms of the building codes that they apply for building safety, and it's adopted by the state and then allowed us at the local level to implement them. However, there are some codes that we can choose to adopt at the local level in addition to that, and this is one of those opportunities. We do have some buildings where we feel there may be some structural safety issues that we want to be able to review and have discussion with the property owners about it, and so with this code it will allow us to do that.
Thank you, Heather. Discussion among the council? Any questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to pass ordinance 5038 to a second reading.
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved by Councillor Jeffries and seconded by Council President Menke that we move this to a second reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. And so this passes unanimously. So ordinance number 5038 passes its first reading unanimously. I will now ask the city attorney to read the ordinance by title only.
This is the second reading of ordinance number 5038, an ordinance amending ordinance 4539, adopting by reference certain uniform codes which relate to the maintenance of existing buildings and abatement of dangerous conditions.
I'll ask for a motion to adopt ordinance number 5038.
I so move.
And a second.
Second.
It has been moved by Council President Menke and seconded by Counselor Stassens. I'll ask the city recorder to poll the council.
Counselor Garvin. Counselor Jeffries.
Aye.
Counselor Rudin.
Aye.
Counselor Stassens.
Aye.
Council President Minke.
Aye.
Ordinance number 5038 has been adopted by a vote of 5 to 5, so thank you. This brings us to that part of our meeting tonight where we have advice and additional items. Reports from counselors on committee and board assignments. We'll start with Adam and then just move down.
Our YCOM meeting was canceled but handled via email. So October will be a great meeting if you'd like to join us, Mr. Mayor.
And what date is that?
That's the third Thursday of the month.
Okay. And that's at, is that 5?
Our second Thursday of the month. That's at 3 o'clock on the 12th, downstairs at the courthouse.
Okay.
I think it's room 32 or where the commissioners meet for their Thursday.
Okay. Any other reporting, Adam?
No, that's it.
Okay. Kevin?
Nothing for me.
Council President.
Let's see, visit McMinnville. We had the Johnson Consulting Group come in and talk to us, Ryan and Charles Johnson, about the possible event or coordinating some kind of information for us to go on, whether we should build an event center, a sports center, or something like that. It was an interesting conversation. A lot of great ideas and thoughts from the Visit McMinnville group. And I believe they stayed 2 days and talked to a number of different people, including Heather and Jeff and a few others. The homeless committee meeting, Jeff joined us and Matt, and that was helpful to the group to kind of understand the city's position on a number of areas. And we are looking at affordable housing on Wednesday. So.
Thank you. Alan?
Just Kelly mentioned the Affordable Housing Task Force that meets at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's also a Historic Landmarks Committee meeting that was canceled due to any lack of action items. And that's at, that would be tomorrow afternoon, but that's canceled. And that's about it for right now.
Thank you, Alan. Wendy?
We have not had another urban renewal advisory since last meeting, but we did have the parking presentation, which a lot of the council was there. And it was very interesting results that they brought in, showed peak hours and areas, and they had some preliminary things that they talked about that we'll see probably more details about what we can do to address those peak hours and peak areas and how we can move the parking and address any issues. So that's about it.
Yeah, I was intrigued by what data can tell you a bit. Peak times, and I think we will be coming up with some pretty simple solutions in the short run, but also I think the consulting group will give us some long-term directional pieces that we need to look at. So I look forward to having that third meeting. I think it will be their third meeting. Just wanted to share with you that last Thursday we had a Parkway Committee meeting. Last Saturday we had the celebration on the Parkway from 10 until 2. It turned out to be a beautiful day. For those, they started at 9 o'clock with a fun run, the full length of the Parkway, and people just really enjoyed that. A number of schools were out with their cross-country teams, and it was kind of fun to watch that. A lot of bicyclists that were out there that did the whole Parkway from up north all the way down through Dundee and back. Number of us that just walked it, and had an opportunity to meet with a lot of individuals. It was, I think, heavily participated from citizens in Newburgh and Dundee area. I saw a lot of people there. Elected officials were out also. And so more to come on that, as you know, at our most recent legislative session, we picked up 22 million for phase 2 of the Parkway and put that with the 10 million that we saved on phase 1 gives us about 32 million. The next phase 2 needs somewhere in the neighborhood of 85 to 90 million dollars to be able to allow us to do the design work and the right-of-way work. And so at some point we will be back to the council as the committee the Parkway Committee meets and sees what the next steps are. We continue to have lobbyists. We continue to have dialogue with our state representatives on this. So more to come from that perspective. Department heads, which
we have received all of our crews back from the wildfires that were deployed throughout the state. Just a week and a half ago, the last crews returned. Chief Scales and I went up this weekend to take a look at the public safety requirements for the air show behind the scenes and met with our counterparts up there this weekend. And other than that, we're trying to keep it quiet for council meetings, but I'm not doing a really good job.
Where were they deployed? Which fires were they at?
We had individuals at the Millie Fire, at the Nina Springs 1, Nina Springs 2, Chetco, and the Eagle Creek Fire. So all 5 conflagrations that had state municipal resources in support of the state, we were participated in all of those.
I'd like to speak with whoever's at the Chetco bar fire if I have some side conversation. Thanks.
And thank the team to helping out. I know that spread so quickly and so devastating and had such an effect. Like I don't think we've seen a fire in a long time. So thank the team for helping. Tim? Susan?
Yes, Mayor and Council, last Tuesday was the meet and greet at the Friends of the McMinnville Senior Center, and it was a good showing. We had about 20 people there. Ann Lane and I were there. Councilor Minke attended as well. I learned about their concerns with the roof at the facility. We talked about cost recovery models and difficult budget decisions, and we talked about bus service and increasing attendance out at the senior center. And related to that, traditionally the Parks and Rec Director office has been every day at the community center, and in order to understand the senior center programming and meet some of the patrons out there, I plan on having 1 day a week out at the senior center. So if you don't find me at the community center, I'll be out at the senior center. So look forward to seeing people there.
Thank you, Susan. Heather?
Yeah, so I wanted to share with you what's happening with the Yamhill County Transit Development Plan. It's a plan that's been in discussion, and they received a grant from the Transportation and Growth Management about a year and a half ago, but spent a lot of time in the procurement process, so doing the scope of work and procuring a consultant. It is a transit development plan for the whole county, including McMinnville. They have a project advisory committee for it. I'm sitting on that. They also have an elected officials focus group, and Councilor Menke has agreed to participate in that. We're at the beginning of the process. We're in existing conditions and reviewing the existing conditions, having a lot of dialogue about what's working, what's not working with the system here in McMinnville. And then we'll move into future dialogue. They are looking to do a 20-year planning horizon for this. So it will be important for McMinnville in terms of our growth projections and our land use processes and where we put high density and services and things of that nature. So I will start sending out emails that I think are informative to both department heads and city council as we go through this process.
Thank you, Heather. Mike? Melissa? David? And Jeff?
Members of council, a couple of things, a couple of semi-dated news items that you may already know about, but we haven't had a chance to talk about on the public record. You've met Rhonda Sandoval before. She has been in our department for 24 years and has moved through a variety of assignments and ranks. She's been serving as the acting captain since the retirement of the previous incumbent, and about a week and a half ago, after a recruitment and evaluation process, the chief promoted Rhonda Sandoval to captain. And so when you get a chance to see her next, she'll no longer have the acting behind or in front of her title. And so we're happy to welcome Rhonda to that new promotion. Last week, Rebecca Quant, the executive director of the Downtown Association, notified her board and the community subsequently that she will be leaving the association to take a position at the city of Salem. She'll continue in her capacity until near the end of the month, in part to help facilitate the recruitment, the design of a job and a recruitment for a new executive director. Jenny Berg has elevated to the president position of that board now, instead of when that would normally happen in about 3 months or so. So Jenny's officially the president of the board of the MDA. Rebecca is working closely with Heather and Jenny and myself and others to sort of get through a bucket list of accomplishments in the next month or so, and we look forward to helping the association as they move to their next phase. Finally, just to let you know, I'll be attending the city managers workshop as part of the League of Oregon Cities conference on Thursday morning, and staying up in Portland to attend the board meeting of the City Managers Association into the early afternoon, and we'll be back in the office mid-afternoon, Portland traffic permitting.
Understand that.
Portland's not the problem. It's Newburgh and Dundee is the problem. I get out of Portland just fine.
A part of the advice is the building division's report that's a part of your packet as an FYI. This evening, we are going to meet in an executive session with council concerning legal rights and duties regarding current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. And so I don't think anything will come out of that we need to bring back to this meeting. So with that being said, we will adjourn our meeting at this time and then go into executive session.